Hey everyone, wanted to show you how to make the weBLEED DIY course, what you need, how to do it. It's pretty easy. They have all the parts. It was a little confusing for me, so I thought I'd make a little video. First off, you'll start with this kit. This will be your first set of LED lights, power plug, and it does Bluetooth to your phone as well as a controller. If you want to make a decent sized course, you'll need at least one, if not multiple, of these other sets of LED lights. They're just strips, and I'll show you later how you cut them. But yeah, just a strip of LEDs. You are going to need some of the clear tubing off of weBLEED. The 22 pack is for, decent sized course, and then you can go bigger. I also bought some 3/4 inch PVC just for like the legs, because why waste the clear one there? You'll need some of your couplings. I mainly bought these 5-way ones, so it's any option, but also got some 90s and some 3-ways, but mostly I'm using these 5-ways, and they work good as ground legs. You're gonna need these male-female plugs. I went with these over the little small white ones. They're long, you can clip them, or I just tape them, but male and female, and we'll show how you use those. And then your splitters. So this is 1 into 2, and so you use these, I'll show you later, but on your corners. So for example, you'd come in and you'd come out 2 different sides with your clip. With your wires for your lights. These are extenders, so if you want to go from separated gates, you can take this and run multiple gates. You will need some of the glue. You don't need it, but it's good to have. You'll need a soldering iron and some soldering and scissors. And that's about it that you'll need to get going on making. Everything you see here is on their site except for the soldering iron. Alright guys, so I'm going to show you kind of how I built this kit. The cool part, DIY, do it yourself. You can build it any way you want, but I'll show you the way I did it and why. Know that on these LED strips, you can cut them at any point on these soldering points here. So you'll see there's soldering points, you fold them, you just use scissors, cut, and we'll solder our wires so you can connect LED strip to LED. You could try to run a whole LED strip through your whole course. The way I'm doing it, I'll show you, is I'm doing 1 LED strip per tube. And that way, for me, it's just easier. I just clip and plug it at every joint. All right, so what I did is I did our male and female wires, 1 on each end. So male on one end, female on the other end. And you wanna make sure when you're plugging in your wires that the arrows, that's the flow of electricity, so that the arrows are always pointing in the same direction. So what I did is female always at the top of the arrow, and you'll see male at the bottom arrow. So it always goes male, female at either end. What I'll end up doing is taking this line, I'll remove the double stick tape, I'll tape this in there, and then that way when I take apart the course to make a new track, all I have to do is just do my layout and plug these in as I go. And you'll see at the end of this female, you can take your splitter. So if you need to go from 1 LED to 2 at a corner, for example, you bring this in, you do 1 coming out one end, and then you could do the other coming out the other end. And then now you have an LED running in one direction and another running in the other. Get this through. So that's how you would split them and why you use those splitters. So LED coming in, and then you plug in another one here and another one here. And then I've been taping my lines up so I have them long. You can trim them or not, and then I'll do the same here. I'll tape these up as well. Cool, so now I'll show you how to cut and how to solder one of these lines. All right, before we solder, first things first is figuring out the length of your LED strip you want. You can go full length or you can cut it a little short, up to you. I'm gonna do a little bit short just so that there's room for the wires at the end. So you see I hold it here, one end to the other, and then I find where the solder point is to cut at. Alright, once you know your cutting point, you fold. You'll see on here there's black dots, there's a line. You want to try to fold on that line. And then do your best to cut a straight line across, so just won't mess anything up, but you just make your solder pads smaller. If you don't, now that that's cut, you got your line, and now we'll solder it. Alright, to solder there are 3 pads, ground, DI, and 12 volt. So we're going to tin them. So you just get the pad hot and drop a little dollop of solder on. You don't need much. Makes a little dot. Don't leave it on too long, you'll burn it. Hold it on, drop a little dot, and you don't want too much because that just makes it so it's easier to short. Should look like that. And then you take your wire, like we said, I do male at the bottom, female at the top. Start with ground. The wires are pre-tinned, so you don't have to tin those, which is awesome. Just get the pad hot and it will liquefy. Boom, done. Ground goes to ground, yellow goes to DI, which is in the middle. So you could do these really quick. Then you do 12 volt to red, and you're done. That's it. Soldered up. You'll do the other side. I'll turn it around right now. Make sure you flatten this after you cut it. It tends to roll. Then you'll heat up the pad. Put a small amount of solder on it. You don't need much. And again, remember you're heating up the pad, not putting solder to the iron. Cool. Like I said, male at the bottom. For me, female at the top. It's up to you, however you want to do it. Black to ground. And if you want, you could either put silicone over these after, you could put heat shrink, or just leave them because you're going to tape them in there and they should never touch anything else. Yellow in the middle, red on the side to 12 volt. There you go. And you are done soldering. You do that for as many tubes, 22 of them or whatever. Okay, like I said, I leave my wires long, but I'm going to tape them up just because I haven't messed around with too many courses yet and don't know if I want the length. Probably end up cutting them later, but I just roll them up, take a little black tape, nice and tight, so now they're short. Pretty straightforward, and I'll do it on the other side. And then we have it. We got one whole LED strip. What you'll do now, peel the backing. So it's sticky. Grab a tube. And you'll feed it through. Right, once it's all the way in, you like where it's at, you take something long, screwdriver, whatever you have that's long enough, and you push down the LED strip so it sticks. Once you've pushed it down, this is what you have. You have your tube with a female out on one end and a male out on the other end. Then, as you're building, you'll put your couplers on, you'll have your tabs, and you connect them. And that is it. One other thing is you can glue these, put a little bit of glue on them. The glue's pretty strong, so the odds are you might not get it apart. I put just a small amount and I was able to get it back off by just twisting. And it now kind of holds a little bit tighter because these are outer diameter, not as thick as like a regular PVC. You use double stick tape or whatever you want to keep it a little tighter.